justice that was generated in a conference in Bolivia that was developing throughout the process of the negotiation of the Climate Change Convention of the UN. Incidentally, at that time, my job was to assist indigenous peoples organizations as a political advisor in the climate change negotiations. So I found myself pretty much into the need to decolonize my own thinking in order to prevent myself from being slapped in the face by indigenous activists, mostly women, actually. With Rosa, we've been working together in the last years to try and create opportunities for dialogue and interaction between movements working initially on migrant rights, but now on rights of nature, and artists that are concerned about the issues that we're talking about. I wanted to briefly refer to something that was said before about the concept of responsibility. And I really like it a lot because I don't like this emphasis on hope, because hope seems to be something that is actually demanding an engagement to somebody else or in some given period of time. And I recall a very beautiful interview to a feminist philosopher, Wendy Smith, some time ago, that was titled "When the Fires Are." And she was being asked, do you hope or do you feel responsible? I say I feel responsible, and my responsibility as an activist and as a thinker is to put out the fires when the fires are, and to light up the fires where there is no fire. Well, by meaning, I have to intervene to support resistance when resistance is needed, and to intervene to generate imagination where imagination is needed. And I think these are the two elements, the two areas where I think radical ecology and radical arts can join together. When I talk about the radical arts, we've been talking about it today, is part of a collective of resistance and prefigurative actions. At the same time, radical ecology needs to look into the ways to, let's say, recreate this connection between the human and the non-human. And let's say to recognize that we are part of a complex ecosystem. One thing that is very interesting that we can draw up from indigenous cosmology, especially the Maoris, is the concept of Te Awa Tupua. The first experience of the recognition of the rights of nature came through the recognition of the rights of rivers. And the first one, that is actually very strongly decolonial, has been the fight by the Maoris to recognize the rights of the Wanganui River as a complex ecosystem, not only the river and the ecosystem, but also the knowledge and wisdom of the ancestors, the agency of the communities that have been living there in memorial time. And Te Awa Tupua means the river is me, and I am the river. So this need to mend the modernist fracture between human and non-human is something that radical ecology and radical arts can help with. So the challenge that myself and Rosa have been finding ourselves in has been how to bring all this complexity into a biennale. We had been invited to participate in the Sydney Biennale of this year in Australia that is dedicated to rivers. And we didn't want to bring the voice of rivers like recorded, but at the same time we didn't want to be the ones participating in the Biennale, but we wanted to offer a space to the global movement for the rights of rivers and nature to be at the Biennale through the creation of a collaborative platform. And so this was something that we've been always thinking about, how a collaborative effort in bringing together arts and activism can also be based on commoning. And the commoning is not only, to our opinion, in the process of creation of the art piece or whatever, but also afterwards. How do we make sure that whatever we create can be then common, can be used by others? I mean, Oliver, I don't know if he's going to talk about overground resistance, but the exhibition that he's been curating is very amazing in that sense. So we found it a very interesting element there. For instance, there was an artist collective that created an inflatable barricade that then was used by many organizations, both communities in the front line against extractivism, the red line against extractivism, but also during the Paris COP. And we also thought, well, a piece of art or art production can also be a tool for others to be used and to be reproduced as an act of resistance. And this was, I think, one of the elements that maybe we also want to put into context. Lastly, I think that when we talk about imagination, we talk about radical and utopian imagination. And these imagination, two kinds of imagination, generate from the agency of communities in resistance, but also agency of ecosystems that are not separated from us. They're not passive living entities, but they actually have their own agency themselves.